A shattered radio intercept, its words fragmented and distorted by static, carries a single chilling phrase. Unidentified vehicles, impossible speed, no sound of engine roar. A blurry photograph, taken under the harsh glare of a desert sun, shows a small, boxy vehicle, unarmored, yet moving with uncanny agility, slipping through a dust cloud like a ghost. German officers, trained to fear tanks and artillery, faced an enigma. How could such a fragile machine unsettle entire battalions? The paradox was stark. A lightweight American Jeep, seemingly trivial in firepower and armor, was fracturing the iron confidence of seasoned Wehrmacht units. What was this new specter on the battlefield, and why had German command failed to anticipate its psychological impact? Could the very image of vulnerability mask a deeper, more insidious threat? The origins of the American Jeep trace back to early 1941, born from a desperate demand for a versatile, all-terrain reconnaissance vehicle. The U.S. Army, after rejecting numerous prototypes, settled on a design that prioritized simplicity and speed over armor or heavy weaponry. This machine was not conceived as a frontline warrior, but as a mobile scout and liaison tool. A Jeep, a nickname whispered among soldiers and engineers, its exact etymology still debated. Inside a dusty design office, a blueprint lay marked with the seal of the Ford Motor Company. 1,300 pounds, 60 horsepower, four-wheel drive. The Jeep's creators envisioned a nimble companion for infantry, not a combat disruptor. Yet, as these vehicles rolled off assembly lines and into theaters of war, their unexpected role began to emerge. How did such an unassuming artifact evolve into a psychological weapon that undermined entrenched German tactics? What motives had shaped its creation, and what consequences had been overlooked? Technical specifications reveal a vehicle stripped to essentials: a 2.2-liter inline four-cylinder engine, a maximum speed of 65 miles per hour on flat terrain, and a ground clearance of 8.75 inches. Its armor was negligible, thin steel barely protecting occupants from shrapnel, let alone bullets. Armament consisted mainly of a mounted .30 caliber machine gun, a far cry from the heavy tanks that dominated battlefields. The Jeep's true strength lay in its light weight, allowing it to traverse mud, sand, and rocky terrain inaccessible to heavier vehicles. Its compact size and four-wheel drive granted it unprecedented mobility. However, these advantages came with vulnerabilities. Its thin frame was vulnerable to small arms fire and anti-tank weapons. Yet, German reconnaissance reports repeatedly noted the Jeep's uncanny ability to appear where least expected. Was this a flaw in German intelligence or a deliberate exploitation of enemy blind spots? What design secrets allowed this lightweight vehicle to punch far above its weight class in real combat situations? The first documented encounter occurred in North Africa, late to 1942, during the Tunisia campaign. A German reconnaissance squadron, expecting to face traditional armored vehicles, spotted a convoy of American Jeeps darting through the desert haze. Initial German reports described confusion. Vehicles too fast to target, too small to track effectively. The squadron commander's log mentions a loss of confidence after multiple failed attempts to engage the Jeeps. The Americans used the Jeeps not just for scouting, but to outmaneuver and disrupt supply lines, creating chaos far behind German front lines. This unexpected mobility forced German units to rethink their defensive posture. How could lightly armored vehicles so easily negate the Wehrmacht's superior firepower? Why did German command underestimate the strategic implications of these encounters? Could a single vehicle type shift the balance of confidence and control in such a profound way? In response, German forces sought to adapt. Field manuals were revised to emphasize rapid identification, and engagement of light vehicles and infantry units received training to counter the Jeep's speed and maneuverability. attempts were made to equip units with faster motorcycles and light armored cars to match the Jeep's mobility. However, logistical constraints and the inertia of established doctrine hampered these efforts. Some units experimented with mounting heavier weapons on captured Jeeps, but reliability issues persisted. German engineers also explored improvements in anti-vehicle mines and ambush tactics to neutralize Jeep advantages. Yet, morale reports from the front lines reveal a persistent sense of vulnerability. The Jeep was not just a vehicle, but a symbol of a new, elusive threat. What lessons did German commanders fail to internalize? Was the resistance to rapid tactical change rooted in hubris or a systemic intelligence blind spot? The climax unfolded during the Battle of the Bulge in late 1944. American forces deployed thousands of Jeeps across the dense Ardennes forest, exploiting their mobility to disrupt German communication lines and supply routes. German units, stretched thin and low on fuel, faced relentless harassment. Maps recovered after the battle show multiple Jeep corridors, where German armored divisions were stalled by rapid-fire raids from light vehicles. Protocols ordered defensive perimeters to be restructured, yet the speed of the Jeeps made containment nearly impossible. Resources were diverted to counter these threats, draining reserves needed for armored counterattacks. The psychological toll was immense. Reports describe soldiers shaken by the seemingly omnipresent Jeeps, their confidence eroding under a constant, invisible pressure. How did this shift in battlefield dynamics accelerate German defeat? Was the Jeep's impact more psychological than tactical, or were both inseparably linked? And what does this say about the underestimated power of light, agile technology in modern warfare? Each episode is a document pull from the dust of the archives. The American Jeep, a machine of modest means, shattered the Wehrmacht's battle confidence not through brute force, but by exploiting speed, surprise, and psychological disruption. Its legacy is a testament to how light machinery can fracture deeply entrenched military paradigms. Share your own stories. Many of you have relatives who lived through that time, and your words help connect personal memory with archival evidence. Stay curious. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode tomorrow. In the wake of the Battle of the Bulge, intercepted German communications revealed a mounting frustration. Enemy Jeeps infiltrate rear positions, supply lines broken beyond repair. A cracked map, annotated with hastily drawn red circles, traced the routes these vehicles exploited, narrow forest paths and abandoned roads thought impassable for mechanized units. Intelligence officers noted a pattern. The American Jeeps were not only fast, but unpredictable, striking where the Wehrmacht least expected. A field report from a division commander admitted, "Our forces are chasing shadows." This admission was rare and revealing. How could a vehicle designed for reconnaissance so thoroughly unbalance a military machine built on heavy armor and calculated firepower? Was the failure simply tactical, or had German command underestimated the psychological warfare embedded in rapid, light mechanized movement? Meanwhile, German engineering workshops scrambled to design countermeasures that could be produced quickly and deployed en masse. Blueprints surfaced, showing attempts to develop lightweight anti-Jeep traps, improvised explosive devices, and spike strips intended to puncture tires and immobilize the nimble vehicles. Yet, the Americans adapted as well, often equipping Jeeps with reinforced tires and mounting additional armor plates salvaged from downed tanks. A grainy photograph from a frontline engineer's notebook shows a Jeep fitted with makeshift steel plating, its silhouette a shadow of resilience amid the chaos. This arms race between fragility and fortitude played out silently, far from headlines. Was this a microcosm of the larger conflict, where innovation and adaptation defined survival? Or did these small-scale skirmishes foreshadow a fundamental shift in warfare's nature, away from brute force towards speed and adaptability? At the tactical level, German infantry units began experimenting with coordinated ambush tactics, employing combined arms to trap and destroy jeep columns. Reports describe the use of sniper teams targeting drivers, while artillery units laid suppressive fire on likely escape routes. However, the jeep's ability to disperse quickly and navigate difficult terrain often rendered such tactics ineffective. In one intercepted radio exchange, a platoon leader confessed, "They vanish before we can close in." Photographs from the front capture the aftermath of such encounters: overturned jeeps, scattered supplies, and exhausted soldiers. These images, frozen in time, betray a growing anxiety within German ranks. Why did conventional countermeasures repeatedly fail against such a seemingly fragile vehicle? Was it a failure in coordination, or did the jeep embody a new paradigm, where psychological pressure and rapid mobility outweighed traditional combat power? The psychological impact extended beyond direct combat. German soldiers, conditioned to fear tanks and artillery barrages, found themselves unnerved by the elusive jeep raids. Letters from the front mention the creeping dread of unseen wheels and the constant hum of approaching danger. The jeep became a symbol of vulnerability, an ever-present reminder of the Wehrmacht's eroding control. Officers' diaries reveal a shift in morale. Confidence gave way to caution, and hesitation crept into decision-making. This unseen battle, waged in minds as much as fields, was perhaps the most damaging effect of the jeep's presence. How did this erosion of morale influence German operational effectiveness? Could a vehicle so lightly armed truly wield such destructive influence over the spirit of an army? And what does this tell us about the intangible dimensions of warfare? By early 1945, as German resources dwindled and fronts collapsed, the American jeep had become a ubiquitous force multiplier. Its role expanded beyond reconnaissance to include rapid medical evacuation, command and control mobility, and supply runs under fire. A rare color photograph from a U.S. Army medics album shows a jeep speeding through ruined villages, dust trailing behind it like a specter. German troops, increasingly isolated and disoriented, faced not just superior firepower, but superior adaptability. The jeep's presence was a constant reminder of an enemy that could strike anywhere, anytime, with minimal warning. Command documents from this period reflect a grudging respect for the vehicle's effectiveness, coupled with a despairing acknowledgement of its symbolic power. How did such a simple machine come to embody the unstoppable momentum of Allied forces? And why did it continue to haunt German strategies even as defeat became inevitable? In the final months of the conflict, German intelligence reports reveal a desperate attempt to analyze the jeep's operational doctrine. A dossier marked "Top Secret" outlines observations of American light vehicle tactics, hit-and-run harassment, rapid flanking maneuvers, and seamless communication with infantry and air support. One annotated map illustrates a network of jeep patrol routes crisscrossing contested zones, their paths blurring front lines and rear areas alike. The report warns, this is not merely a vehicle, it is a mobile node in a flexible combat system. Yet the Wehrmacht's capacity to counter this system was critically weakened by shortages of fuel and spare parts. An intercepted radio message from a logistics officer laments, "Without gasoline, our heavier vehicles are statues. The enemy's jeeps remain shadows." How did such a lightweight platform evolve into the backbone of a complex, integrated battlefield network? And why was German command unable to develop an effective systemic response before resources ran out? Compounding the threat was the jeep's role in advancing Allied reconnaissance capabilities. Forward observers used jeeps to relay real-time battlefield intelligence, coordinating artillery strikes with unprecedented precision. A grainy photograph from an artillery batteries album shows a jeep parked beside a radio operator, their faces tense beneath helmets stained by mud and sweat. German counter-battery units struggled to respond. The fleeting nature of jeep-borne observers made targeting nearly impossible. Memoirs of a German artillery officer described the frustration. "We fired into the mist, but the spotters were never where we expected." This dynamic created a feedback loop. Jeeps enabled rapid strikes that disrupted German formations, which in turn increased the vulnerability of static artillery positions. Could the Jeep's true power be its facilitation of networked warfare rather than direct combat? And did German forces underestimate how this shift would undermine their traditional artillery dominance? In a final, symbolic moment, a captured German report from April 1945 details a failed counterattack near the Ruhr. Infantry units, attempting to halt a Jeep-led reconnaissance sweep, found their communications severed and supply lines cut. A blurred photo taken by a war correspondent shows exhausted German soldiers huddled around a destroyed command post, while Jeeps dash past in the background, their drivers' faces obscured by dust and determination. The report's concluding lines reveal a stark truth. Our forces are outmaneuvered and outpaced, confidence shattered. This crisis encapsulated the cumulative effect of light mechanized vehicles on German combat morale and operational coherence. How did such a small vehicle deliver a blow disproportionate to its size? Was the Jeep's impact a reflection of technological innovation, psychological warfare, or the collapse of an outdated military doctrine? What lessons linger beneath the surface of these final, desperate pages? In the quiet aftermath of the German retreat, scattered reports surfaced from frontline officers reflecting on the elusive menace of the American Jeep. One fragment of a diary entry, smudged by rain and time, captures a soldier's stark admission. "We fought tanks and planes, but it was the small wheels that unraveled us." Photographs from liberated villages show abandoned German posts cluttered with overturned vehicles, while the faint tracks of countless Jeeps carve the earth like a web of inevitability. This small, unarmored vehicle, born from necessity and forged in mass production, had done more than scout or ferry supplies. It had chipped away at the Wehrmacht's sense of invincibility, exposing vulnerabilities that heavy armor and rigid strategies could not conceal. How often does the battlefield turn on such a seemingly insignificant axis? And what does this tell us about the fragile psychology behind military might?